What's up guys, Acer Thorn here, and welcome to part 2 of my analysis of Skyrim's Dark Brotherhood questline. If you have not seen part 1 of this analysis, you won't know what's going on. So if you want to watch, or even refresh yourself on, part 1 of this analysis, then you can click on the card that I provide right here. I will also provide a link to part 1 of this analysis in the description of this video. Alrighty, now that everyone is all caught up, let's continue. So anyway, the Night Mother gives you the sentence to prove to Cicero that she actually spoke to you. Darkness rises when silence dies, mere seconds before Cicero opens the crypt to discover you.
Tell Cicero the time has come. Tell him the words he has been waiting for all these years. Darkness rises when silence dies.
What treachery?
Gee, that sure is a handy-dandy coinky-dink that she gave you the vital information just in the nick of time, and not a total contrivance that Bethesda could easily have worked around with the right writing. But then Cicero and Astrid both confirm that Dark Brotherhood lore clearly states that the Night Mother will speak only to the listener.
The Night Mother speaks only to the listener!
And the Night Mother, who, according to everything we know, will only speak to the person chosen as listener.
No she won't! We clearly see, in the climax of Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood questline, that the Night Mother will speak to any member of the Dark Brotherhood if there isn't a listener yet appointed.
The listener now kneels by Sithis, as does his successor. There is a traitor amongst you.
The traitor is dead, dear mother. We have come now to ask your blessing. Anoint one of us your listener so we can restore the Black Hand.
We see during this climax that this is made possible by a ritual called the Awakening. It basically involves the speakers all standing in a circle and one speaker saying a specific prayer. It really is that easy. So what? When the last listener was killed, did the remaining Dark Brotherhood members not think to do the Awakening? Cicero's journals acknowledge that the Dark Brotherhood has scribes who record the faction's most important information, and it's presumably from one of those inscriptions that Cicero knew what the sentence was you were supposed to say to prove the Night Mother spoke to you. So, did they not think to record how to do the Awakening for posterity's sake? And the most infuriating thing about all of this is, all of these plot holes surrounding the Night Mother and her choosing you to be the listener could have easily been resolved with a single entry in Cicero's diary. This could have been easily worked around by having Cicero write in his journal, there's supposed to be some kind of ritual, the Awakening, that allows us to temporarily communicate directly with the Night Mother when there's no listener. But the tomes in Breville were destroyed in the carnage that leveled Breville, and none of the tomes here in Chiggenhall tell us how to do the Awakening. Boom! Plot holes resolved! That one entry into Cicero's journal would have instantly eliminated 99% of the plot holes surrounding this set piece, although the questline still has a buttload of contrivances elsewhere. Suddenly, it makes perfect sense why the Night Mother couldn't communicate with anyone except the listener, because the only exception to that rule is the Awakening, and the existing Dark Brotherhood members didn't do that yet. And it would have made perfect sense why the Black Hand didn't perform that simple workaround. Also, it would at least 1% make sense why the Night Mother waited 13 years to select a new listener if she had to do it the hard way, without the benefit of the Awakening. But again, the game doesn't tell us that. If anything, it seems as if the climax of Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood questline is almost completely retconned for this new questline that's only a tenth as interesting, a tenth as compelling, and a tenth as fun as Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood questline. Tell me, Bethesda, was the sacrifice really worth it? So the Night Mother tells us to go visit someone named Amon Montier in a Draugr ruin named Valen Rude. Now, as a bit of fan service, this guy actually shares a last name with someone in Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood questline, in a quest where you actually had to keep Montier's ancestor alive rather than kill him. However, the current Montier's relationship with Oblivion's Montier is never referenced in-game. Nor does it have any bearing on the questline's story, so I won't talk about it beyond this one paragraph. Anyway, turns out that the Night Mother isn't the only one with supernatural powers, because Montier has the ability to clap without moving his hands. So the Handless Clapper wants us to assassinate the Emperor, and he wants a few more assassinations done in preparation for that. This will be the A-plot for the rest of the Dark Brotherhood questline, while the whole Cicero Night Mother listener thing serves as the B-plot. But I have to ask, why come all this way to Skyrim just to do the Black Sacrament? I mean, okay, there isn't an active Dark Brotherhood branch in Cyrodiil, so the Black Sacrament probably wouldn't have worked in Cyrodiil, but does Montier know that? The Dark Brotherhood hasn't exactly announced with trumpets that their Cyrodiil sanctuaries have been ransacked. Hell, they send eyes and ears around Tamriel to find news of people performing the Black Sacrament to create the illusion that the ritual still has a supernatural means of contacting the Dark Brotherhood. So they surely aren't going to publicly announce it if the entire province loses their Dark Brotherhood presence. Now, the fan theory that the Emperor commissioned his own assassination could be used to explain why the assassination itself had to happen in Skyrim. After all, the political climate in Skyrim, with all the civil war and stuff, could serve as the perfect conceit for the Emperor to walk right into his own assassination while still pretending to be on official business. Granted, we see from Cicero's journal that there's plenty of political strife in Cheydinhal as well, which is the whole reason he needed to bring the Night Mother to the Skyrim in the first place. But since we don't know all the details about that, we can probably accept that the plan wouldn't work if they did it in Cheydinhal for reasons that simply aren't described in Cicero's journal. But even if I had even the slightest hint that this was what the quest line was going for, it still doesn't make any sense why Montier would have to come to Skyrim to do the Black Sacrament. Does he not think the Cyrodiil branch has the communications network needed to coordinate this plan with the Skyrim branch? The only way this makes any sense at all is if Montier somehow knew that the Cyrodiil branch of the Dark Brotherhood was no more, and that raises just as many questions as it answers. But even if we accept that Montier had to come to Skyrim, why Valen Rude in particular? It just seems so random. Why not someplace in Falkreathhold or the Rift? You know, a place that's just beyond the border to Skyrim, so he doesn't have to do as much traveling? Did Montier just blindfold himself, throw a dart at a map of Tamriel that was on the wall, and then just decide, there, that's where I'm gonna do the Black Sacrament? Ugh. Anyway, our first step in our plan to assassinate the Emperor is to assassinate a member of his family, and thereby force him to come to Skyrim personally to address the matter. This leads us to the quest, Bound Until Death. Now, for the most part, the quest itself is actually pretty solid and devoid of plot holes. But there's one thing I'd like to talk about. The Riften nobleman named Volwuth Snowshod, and I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that name, is having an argument with his son's new mother-in-law about the Skyrim Civil War.
Oh, it's people.
Victoria
You're from
did pretty well for
Cyrodiil.
herself.
You
marrying
know
that
nothing
half-breed.
about us.
Not a bad looking
Nothing.
fellow at all.
Oh, I know enough. I know those trouble-making Stormcloaks refuse to submit to Imperial authority. Such seditious behavior. Why, it's treason.
And when the elves marched into your beloved Cyrodiil, and everyone took up arms against them, wasn't that treason? Against the Dominion, huh?
Why, that's not the same thing at all. The Dominion were invaders, conquerors. We had to fight them to preserve our own way of life.
My point exactly.
Now, now, fuckface, I love the Stormcloaks agenda just as much as you do. In fact, my most successful video on this channel up to this point actually defends the Stormcloaks. You can watch that video by clicking on the card that I provide right here. But by comparing the Skyrim Civil War to the Great War against the Aldmeri Dominion, you make it seem as if the Cyrodiil Empire never had any legitimate claim of sovereignty in Skyrim in the first place. That is just dumb. Bear in mind that the current empire is still officially considered to be the same empire that was ruled by the Septim dynasty in the Third Era. It's still regarded by historians as the Third Empire of Man. Titus Mede I, in the year 4E17, didn't usher in the Fourth Empire of Man. It was still part of the Third. That's why the main currency of this land is still called the Septim. So Pleble's belief that the Empire are nothing but invaders of Skyrim is just delusional. Even if you believe Skyrim should be an independent nation. But of course, that is peanuts compared to how he acts after you've killed Victoria Vici.
Plus, the Empire killed her. I know it. Someone! They killed her so they can blame it on the Stormcloaks.
Wait, what? Wait, what? You've gotta be kidding me. Seriously, Vol Constantinople, what honestly makes you think that? Maybe the Empire isn't above killing innocent people, so they can blame it on their enemies and use that as war propaganda. Maybe they're willing to stoop to that kind of low. But did you forget that Victoria Vici is the Emperor's cousin? You honestly think the Emperor would commission the assassination of his own cousin? See, this is probably the biggest counter-argument to the fan theory that the Emperor commissioned his own assassination. Maybe he might be looking to achieve martyrdom to restore the Mede dynasty's legacy, as Camelwork suggested. But is that honestly worth sacrificing his own cousin for the cause? Or did he go over his plan with Victoria and she gave her consent to be killed? She seemed a little too perky at her wedding for someone who knows she's about to be killed. So after we report our success to Astrid, we get another job to kill the son of the commander of the Penitus Oculatus. The reason we can't just kill the commander is so the Penitus won't simply appoint a new commander in his place. We need the Emperor's lead protector on the job, but distracted. This begs the question, why is Commander Marrow even in Skyrim in the first place? Shouldn't he be in Cyrodiil, you know, protecting the Emperor, who is stationed in Cyrodiil? Maybe you could argue that he's only in Skyrim because the Emperor has announced his plans to come to Skyrim after Victoria's assassination, just as we expected it to happen. Except, that's not it either. Commander Marrow is actually in Skyrim in the beginning of the game. He's the guy who gives you the quest to destroy the Dark Brotherhood if you kill Astrid in the abandoned shack.
By the gods, you're serious. We'd better report this to Commander Marrow right away. He's at the Penutus Oculatus outpost, up in Dragon Bridge.
Every assassin in that hole must be put down. You, my friend, you've slain their leader. This honor should be yours. Do this, and you will be rewarded most handsomely.
Some of you are probably thinking right now, well, maybe Marrow is only in charge of this one branch. It makes sense for the Emperor's bodyguards to have outposts stationed all over Tamriel so they can hear about threats from the farthest reaches of the continent. But I find that to be a hard pill to swallow. He is Commander Marrow, not Captain Marrow or Legate Marrow. The rank of Commander suggests that he is the top of the chain of command. To prove this, let's take a look at the closest real-world analog to the Cyrodiil Empire, the Roman Empire. As you can see from this webpage, which I will provide a link to in the description of this video, General and Commander are both equally accurate English translations for the Latin word that referred to the top dog in the Roman army, while legates and lieutenants were in charge of individual legions. The only explanation that I would buy for why the commander of the Penutus Oculatus would be in Skyrim at the beginning of the game is if there was some other reason for the Emperor personally to come to Skyrim, and Commander Marrow was making the necessary preparations for that visit. But this is a voodoo shark. As TV Tropes explains, a voodoo shark is an attempt to cover up a plot hole that inadvertently creates more plot holes than it seeks to patch up, if it even successfully patches up the initial plot holes at all. If the Emperor was already planning on coming to Skyrim, then why did we even need to assassinate Victoria Vici? Oh sure, the quest was kinda fun, and there were plenty of creative, different ways to carry out the assassination. But you could have very easily had your cake and eat it too. Off the top of my head, I can think of at least 2 easy workarounds regarding this quest. First, have the quest be independent of the Emperor assassination plot, kind of like Morning Never Comes. Considering that Nazir has about a dozen lingering contracts that you can complete at your leisure over the course of the questline while simultaneously working on the Emperor assassination plot, this would be very easy for you to incorporate that way if you wanted to go that route. Second, just have Commander Marrow only come to Skyrim after you complete Bound Until Death. Instead, if you kill Astrid in the abandoned shack, just have a captain or legate run the Skyrim Penutus Oculatus outpost in the commander's absence and have that captain or legate give you the quest to destroy the Dark Brotherhood. Either of those would have been perfectly fine workarounds. You could have had this fun and creative quest where you assassinate a bride at her own wedding in 12 different fun and creative ways without needing to create an obvious plot hole that would require a voodoo shark to fix. And this makes even less sense if we run with the idea that the Emperor commissioned his own assassination. Not only did he order the killing of his own cousin, which is an astronomical dick move in and of itself, but he did it for no reason. He was already planning on coming to Skyrim. Also, this isn't really a plot hole, really. It's more like a poorly executed game mechanic, but it's just so damn funny that I feel compelled to mention it. As I was recording the footage for this video, I didn't care about getting the bonus for this contract, so I decided to just walk up and do the deed as soon as possible. I told Gaius that I was going to kill the Emperor, and then he attacked me, allowing me to kill him in self-defense without getting a bounty. But the strangest thing is, I did that right in front of his dad, and I planted the incriminating letter on the boy in broad daylight, with his dad and about a dozen other witnesses watching, and yet the questline proceeded as normal. Immersion? What's that? Well, we're in the home stretch, everybody. Unfortunately, there is too much stuff to talk about for even a two-part analysis series. So tune in next week for the finale of this analysis series. In it, we will discuss the most contrived part of this entire questline, which is saying a lot, and we will finally assassinate the Emperor. In the meantime, however, I am Lisa Thorne, and I will see you guys later.